I can remember standing outside the Odeon during this winter in 1947, and the thing that really buoyed me up was this side of the wall, cold, grey, dingy. That side, you could be on the beach at Coca-Cola Beach with Carmen Miranda. You could be riding the range with Roy Rogers.
But we didn't have a television at home, so a film was a really escapist, another world.
Absolutely.
These beautiful golden doors with these lovely long metallic handles, they just really stick out in my mind as sort of like a gateway to another place where you could just forget yourself.
And I can remember having tea in the restaurant that was sort of a palm court, Lloyd Loom chairs and tables, and lots of greenery and waitresses. I can remember that very clearly.
And my auntie, my great auntie, Auntie Marjorie, and she would actually accompany the films, and these were silent films.
And it was just a very traditional sort of cinema, wasn't it? Rather worn and... No, it wasn't dilapidated at that stage, but definitely worn. Seen better days.
It's the first time you ever walked on carpet. Because we had lino at home, most of the homes had lino, and inside you had warmth, which you didn't get at home because it was only warm around the fire, and glory of glories was you had inside toilet.
And we went to see Treasure Island and Snow White, a double bill at the Odeon, and we'd never been to the cinema, never seen colour pictures of that sort before.
National anthem at the end of the showing, everybody stood up, and they did. You know, there wasn't this sort of shuffling and trying to get out.
And I remember there always used to be a panic at the last showing for people to rush out before the national anthem was played. So that was always done.
Doris Day, of course, was our generation. She was our fantasy.
My absolute favourite was Gone with the Wind, I'm afraid.
Diana Durbin.
Oh, I love
She sang, she always sang, no matter what the story was, she sang in it.
Yeah.
My favourite memory of the Odeon would be queuing up, I think it was in 1978, with all my friends to see Grease, and we were so excited to go and see it, and it was fantastic.
The last film I remember, major feature film I remember, was Grease. And I think that's the last film that I can remember going to see at the Odeon.
Pollyanna with Hayley Mills, and I thought she was wonderful, and as she was much my age I could see myself as her.
But if Kevin Costner was in it, my friend would tell you I probably saw Robin Hood about 20 times.
But the Odeon always had, the staff were always very smartly dressed.
It was quite a smart uniform, if I remember.
I'm tempted to say red, but that might have been one of Dad's other cinemas.
Green with gold braid and gold buttons down.
Grey and red stripe, I think, the skirt and a grey jacket, and I think you had like this dead thing that was like a tied thing that you had to put on, and it looked like a dead spider.
The thing was, you dress differently to how you do today. It was sort of smart casual then.
Yes, I used to go to the cinema. I mean, it was very popular in those days. There were quite long queues.
And we queued right up towards the town. And we were just lucky to get in because there was no booking seats in those days.
I can remember the queuing outside, and we would have to queue in whatever the weather was.
That's because you had a commissionaire, and if there was a queue outside, which always was, he used to go along and say, 6 seats at 3 and threepence, and he had to kind of constantly amend it in his brain.
Star Wars I did, yeah. I think I queued up for Star Wars. It felt like hours, but it was only probably about 20 minutes.
At the Odeon, I can remember queuing up round the block for about 2 hours to see Bing Crosby in White Christmas, or whether it's seen in Blue Skies or whatever.
I can remember we used to queue along London Road and then all down the steps at the side.
But then they also look a little bit like the steps from The Exorcist, if you've seen that film where the priest falls out the window and drops down the steps. They also have that sort of dark, dismal, inner city look to the steps there. So
Any horror film we watched
We loved it. And black and white film, you can just imagine black and white film. As long as your mum's there and somebody would reach behind you and tap on that shoulder and you'd all jump.
I can remember standing outside the cinema when they used to put the big posters up on the outside, because they stopped doing that sometime in the early 60s. I sat there and watched the poster for The Guns of Navarone go up. We just sat there watching this poster go up in pieces, this huge picture, and just marvelled at all the different actors in the film. There were about sort of 8 or 9 big stars in this film. So
I remember as a kid driving the back of my dad's Hillman and seeing the names of the film change on a weekly, fortnightly basis. And the better the film, the longer it stayed for.
They seemed to change their films in midweek. They were showed films for Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they would change.
I can remember the tickets, if it's there, of the lady would punch the tickets out and they would pop up out of a stainless steel desk.
Was that on the bus?
Oh yeah, it probably was on the bus. Yeah.
I just loved the whole thing, you know, of having to scrounge £3 or £4 out of your mum and dad, and then having to queue up in front of this silver post that said queue here, screen 2, queue here, and waiting there and stopping people from jumping in and just getting and asking for your ticket, and just then this whole fantastic range of sweets and popcorn and drinks and everything like that.
Now it's time for ice cream. Or maybe some nuts.
And gradually, as you were there a longer time, you got to do, you know, more. So then I graduated to sell popcorn and all the sweets.
Why not try a hot dog?
I had my first hot dog at the Odeon. They used to have this hot dog stand, and I had my first one. I thought it was absolutely disgusting.